Show with Asim Siddiqui.
वेलकम बैक। यूनाइटेड मैरीलैंड मुस्लिम कौंसिल ने एक टाउन हॉल मीटिंग का एहतमाम किया था जिसमें सेनेटर्स, यूएस सेनेटर्स, स्टेट सेनेटर और काउंटी के रिप्रेजेंटेटिव मौजूद थे और वहाँ पर मौजूद मुख्तलिफ़ कम्युनिटी से ताल्लुक़ रखने वाले मुस्लिम मौजूद थे, जिसमें फ़लस्तीन से ताल्लुक़ रखने वाले मुसलमान, कश्मीर पे बात हुई, वहाँ पर रोहिंग्या के मुसलमानों पर बात हुई और वहाँ पे काफ़ी डिस्कशन हुए। हम आपको थोड़ी बहुत झलकियाँ वहाँ उनकी उधर की दिखाएंगे कि क्या बात की और कांग्रेस सेनेटर्स ने जो है उनका जवाब दिया। तो झलकियाँ देखिए, फिर इसके बाद मिलते हैं।
शुक्रिया, थैंक यू आसिम। मेरा नाम रिजवान सिद्दीकी है और यहाँ पे जो यूनाइटेड मैरीलैंड मुस्लिम काउंसिल है, मैं उसका प्रेसिडेंट हूँ। इस काउंसिल का जो रोल है, बेसिकली स्टेट लेवल पे वी आर दी अम्ब्रेला ऑर्गेनाइजेशन एंड मैरीलैंड में ऑलमोस्ट 300,000 से ज़्यादा मुस्लिम्स हैं। सो वी वर्क विद देम और मुस्लिम के लोकल इश्यूज़ और इंटरनेशनल इश्यूज़, ख़ास तौर पे आजकल जिस तरह ये कश्मीर का इशू बहुत ज़्यादा है, तो ये सेनेटर क्रिस वैन हॉलन, ये यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स का सेनेटर है, मैरीलैंड का नहीं बल्कि यूनाइटेड स्टेट का सेनेटर है। तो इसको हमने आज इन्वाइट किया था और हमने एक टाउन हॉल किया था जिसमें हमने अपनी कम्यूनिटी को भी बुलाया और अपने गेस्ट को भी बुलाया और लोकल स्टेट के सेनेटर्स, डेलीगेट्स भी थे और इश्यूज़ जो दो चार हमने डिस्कस किए। सबसे पहले तो कश्मीर इशू था। अभी सेनेटर क्रिस वैन हॉलन इंडिया, पाकिस्तान और अफ़गानिस्तान का टूर करके आए थे और इस टूर में उन्होंने ख़ास तौर पे मेंशन किया कि जब वो इंडिया गए तो उन्होंने कश्मीर जाने की इजाज़त मांगी, उनको इजाज़त नहीं दी गई थी, जबकि पाकिस्तान से इन्होंने कश्मीर का टूर भी कराया। सो ही वाज़ वेरी अप्रिशिएटिव। लेकिन इंडियन गवर्नमेंट पे इन्होंने बहुत प्रेशर रखा है। अभी इन्होंने सेनेट कमेटी में ये एजेंडे के ऊपर डाल के ये इशू जो कश्मीर का है, इन्होंने एक रेजोल्यूशन पास करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। अभी उसके एजेंडे पे आ चुका है और कोशिश हो रही है कि ये उससे अगला स्टेप जाए जिसमें इंडियन गवर्नमेंट को प्रेशराइज़ किया जाए कि वो जो ब्लॉकेट किया, ऑलमोस्ट 100 डेज़ हो जाएंगे कल, तो उस ब्लॉकेट को ख़त्म किया जाए और लोगों को कर्फ्यू ख़त्म करें, उनकी इंटरनेट और दूसरी चीज़ों को खोला जाए। तो ये एक सबसे बड़ा इशू था जो हमारी कम्युनिटी के जहन पे था। तो हमारे यहाँ पे माशाल्लाह कम्युनिटी के 2-3 लोग जो कि कश्मीर से ताल्लुक़ थे, उन्होंने ये इशू पेश किया और फिर सेनेटर ने उसका जवाब दिया। उसके अलावा हमने पैलेस्टीन के जो पैलेस्टीनियन इशू है, वो आपको पता है बहुत ही क्रॉनिक इशू है, उसके ऊपर बात की। रोहिंग्या में जो मुसलमानों की रेफ्यूजीज़ का इशू है बर्मा और बांग्लादेश के दरमियान, वो चल रहा है, उसके ऊपर ली और इनकी ओपिनियन ली, क्योंकि यूएस सेनेटर इज़ ए वेरी पावरफुल पोजीशन। पूरे यूएस में टोटल 100 सेनेटर्स होते हैं एंड क्रिस वैन हॉलन इज़ फ्रॉम मैरीलैंड और इत्तेफाक से ही वाज बोर्न इन कराची। his family was from the embassy। तो
ये बताएं कि थोड़ा सा कि आज के जो ख़ास गेस्ट थे, मैंने देखा कि खास जो इलेक्शन में जाने वाले लोग हैं वो भी आए थे, जो जीते हुए हैं वो भी आए थे। थोड़ा सा बताएंगे हमारे नाज़रीन को कि कौन कौन लोग आए थे यहाँ पर।
जी, तो एक तो देखिए अभी इलेक्शन सीज़न शुरू हो रहा है, 2020 में इलेक्शन है यहाँ, तो एवरीबॉडी इज़ लिटिल बिट इन्वॉल्व। हमारी कम्युनिटी भी ख़ास तौर पे बहुत है। तो हमारी यहाँ जो मैरीलैंड की हैं सेनेटर केटी हेस्टर हैं, वो आई हुई थी। डेलीगेट हैं जेसिका फेल्डमार्क, शी वाज हेयर। डेलीगेट टैरी हिल वाज हेयर। एक मुस्लिम कैंडिडेट हैं मिस्टर रब, बाल्टीमोर से हैं, ही इज़ रनिंग फॉर द पोजीशन जो अभी कांग्रेसमैन एलाइजा कमिंग की डेथ हुई है, तो उनकी सीट के ऊपर वो इलेक्शन लड़ रहे हैं। तो वो भी आए हुए थे। ही इज़ ए मुस्लिम एंड ही इज़ ए वेरी मच ग्रास रूट पर्सन वर्किंग इन बाल्टीमोर। इसके अलावा बेतहाशा और मुस्लिम एसोसिएशंस और कम्युनिटीज़ के ग्रुप्स जो थे, उनके रिप्रेजेंटेटिव थे। डॉक्टर मोहसिन अंसारी थे जो यहाँ पे अमेरिका में सबसे बड़ी मुस्लिम चैरिटी है हेल्पिंग हैंड्स, और उसके वो चेयर हैं, तो वो भी आए हुए थे। इसी तरीके से केयर है कि यहाँ का बहुत बड़ा इदारा है, काउंसिल ऑफ अमेरिकन इस्लामिक रिलेशन, जो हमारे मुसलमानों को यहाँ पे लीगल एड प्रोवाइड करता है। तो वो ज़ैनब चौधरी हैं, वो आई हुई थी, तो उन्होंने इशू पे बात की। तो इस तरीके से ये ऑल पर्पज़ ये था कि 1-to-1 कन्वर्सेशन हो और सेनेटर जब असम्बली में जाते हैं, वहाँ पे जब बातचीत होती है, तो उनको इशू का बैकग्राउंड पता हो, उन्हें हमारी कम्युनिटी की प्रेफरेंसेस पता हो, और एक तरह से नेटवर्किंग का मकसद होता है कि ये जब वो लोगों की ज़ुबान से सुनते हैं, क्योंकि वी आर ऑल देयर वोटर्स आल्सो, सो वो उन पे प्रेशर पड़ता है कि ये हमारे वोटर्स जो हैं ये चाहते हैं।
नाज़रीन, ऐसे ही प्रोग्राम हम चाहते हैं कि पाकिस्तान में भी हों, सेनेटर जो हैं अपने लोगों को जवाब दे हों। और यहाँ बड़ा अच्छा लगा कि मुख्तलिफ कम्युनिटी से रिलेटेड उनके लोग आए थे और उन्होंने ऑन बिहाफ देयर कम्युनिटी सेनेटर से क्वेश्चन किए और बड़ा रीज़नेबल जवाब दिए सेनेटर ने। हम इस प्रोग्राम में जो एक इंतज़ामिया हैं जिन्होंने मस्जिद तकवा के प्रेसिडेंट हैं, उनसे भी थोड़ी सी बात करेंगे। सर बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपका।
थैंक यू। और हमने इसी तरह का प्रोग्राम तकरीबन 2 महीने पहले सेनेटर बेन कार्डन जो कि यूएस के सेनेटर हैं और मैरीलैंड से ही हैं, उनके साथ एग्जैक्टली सिमिलर प्रोग्राम किया था। पिछले हफ्ते यहाँ मैरीलैंड में जो हाउस ऑफ डेलीगेट्स की जो अभी नई चेयर उसकी इलेक्ट हुई हैं, वो एड्रियन जॉन्स, उनके साथ प्रोग्राम किया था। शी इज़ द फर्स्ट इलेक्टेड वुमेन इन 200 हिस्ट्री ऑफ मैरीलैंड, जो कि ना सिर्फ वुमेन है बट शी इज़ ए वुमेन ऑफ कलर। सो शी मेड ए हिस्ट्री। तो हमने अभी मुस्लिम काउंसिल के प्लेटफॉर्म से उनको इनवाइट किया, उन्हें हमने वो क्या कहते हैं अवार्ड दिया, उन्हें रिकग्नाइज़ किया और कम्युनिटी से इंटरेक्शन कराया और ये सारे इश्यूज़ उनसे डिस्कस किए थे। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
थैंक यू।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम, मेरा नाम अदनान ख़ान है। मैं ये जो मस्जिद है दार तक़वा, ये सबसे बड़ी मस्जिद है मेरलन की, इसका मैं वॉलंटियर प्रेसिडेंट हूँ पिछले 7 साल से। तो यहाँ पे हमारे प्रोग्राम होते रहते हैं जिसमें हम डिफरेंट लोगों को बुलाते हैं। इस दफ़ा भी सेनेटर वैन हेलन आए हुए थे, उससे पहले बेन कार्डन आए हुए थे, अगले मंडे को FBI के डायरेक्टर आ रहे हैं। तो हम पॉलिटिकली इंगेज रखते हैं लोगों से ताकि हमारी कम्युनिटी जो है उनको बता सके क्या मुश्किलात हैं, क्या किस चीज़ का सामना कर रहे हैं एज ए मुस्लिम, एज यंग अमेरिकन्स। तो आज स्टूडेंट्स भी हमने बुलाए हुए थे माशाल्लाह। तो इस तरह हम टाउन हॉल मीटिंग करते हैं जिसमें तकरीबन 50 से 60 लोग हम बुलाते हैं सेलेक्टिवली डिफरेंट एरिया के डिफरेंट चीज़ों के, ताकि वो हर कोई अपना जो है वो क्वेश्चन, अपने इन्फॉर्मेशन जो उनको चाहिए वो कर सके। तो ये प्रोग्राम होते रहते हैं हमारे माशाल्लाह से इस मस्जिद में, और तकरीबन हर साल तकरीबन 8-10 इस तरह के प्रोग्राम होते हैं।
Earlier this year, my organization filed a lawsuit, a major lawsuit, challenging the government's federal terror watch list. You're probably very familiar with that. This is a watch list that has disrupted thousands and thousands of American Muslims' lives. It was effectively created in the aftermath of 9/11 terror attacks and has discriminatorily affected and disproportionately affected Muslim American communities. Many of us know somebody, or we ourselves have personally been impacted when we travel by CBP officers who engaged in excessive questioning of our community members. So this lawsuit was filed on behalf of nearly 24 members of the American Muslim community, the youngest of which was a toddler, 12 or I believe an 18-month-old toddler who was declared to be a terror threat. And unfortunately, a lot of the criteria that's used to determine who's posted on this list is very arbitrary, very ambiguous, and very unclear because it's not publicized to either organizations or to Congress. And this has caused, unfortunately, extensive harm to many families, to many community members, to careers of individuals who have been listed on this list, and it has hindered their ability to travel. And so CARE has provided recommendations to the federal judge at their request on ways that they can fix some of the important kind of problems with the watch list. We still don't know who has won this watch list, who is impacted by it, whether they were ever charged with a crime, what their immigration status is, or any of that. And so what we're requesting is congressional oversight. We believe that Congress should have the power to be able to glean more information on who is listed on these watch lists and what criteria is being used to include these individuals. Sir, you sit on the Senate Appropriations Committee, and we would like to request, if through your office, if you would be able to help ascertain the impact of this federal terror watch list by mandating some kind of reports or statistics on its domestic distribution here in the United States, not only to private entities, but also to law enforcement agencies, because oftentimes we also see an uptick in the number of, for example, American Muslims who are contacted by federal agencies like the FBI for questioning, and oftentimes they have no idea why they're being contacted or why they're being questioned. So we wanted to know if you would be able to do something.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, you on the watch list issue. The watch list issue has been a serious problem in many ways for a long time. Obviously, we all want to make sure that people who are trying to do us all harm do not get on airplanes. But it is also important that people who are totally innocent not be swept up in a watch list process that has no due process, right? And so I'm very willing to work with you. Some of you may remember years ago when Ted Kennedy was still alive. Ted Kennedy's was on the watch list. And it took him some time to get off the watch list. And you can imagine if Ted Kennedy has trouble getting off the watch list, that the normal American, average American would have trouble, right, getting off the watch list. So we definitely need to address this issue so that we both better understand the criteria for getting on, and also how somebody who's innocent can go about in a, straightforward manner that they know about, that's transparent, in getting themselves off the watch list. So I'm more than willing to work with you on this issue. I've never been happy that Cat Stevens has not been allowed to get a visa to come to the United States. We can talk about the reasons why. But I should say this raises another issue that's not directly related to the watch list, but something that we really need more transparency and accountability on. You may have seen recently that now, if you're coming to the United States, you have to make available your social media addresses. And yes, and there was a case within the last month of a Palestinian student from Lebanon who got a scholarship to Harvard, who had his visas. He had everything, actually. It wasn't for his visa. He has visas. He shows up at the airport, I believe in either Boston or New York, and he's denied entry, even though he had all his papers, because whoever was there processing him looked through the social media feed, and based on comments made by his other people on Facebook, his friends, they decided, I don't even know exactly what they were, but they attributed it to him and sent him home. Now, the good news is that a lot of us got very engaged in that case, and so it has a happy ending in that case. He ended up being able to get to Harvard on time, but it's one more example of what's happening to lots of people who don't have as much attention on their cases. So that's apart from the watch list, but it does go to another issue of making sure people are not discriminated against without due process in terms of travel. So, yes.
Recognize our United Maryland Muslim Council Board of Directors, those who are present here. We have our chairman, Dr. Syed Wasimul Haq. Please raise your hand or stand up. We have Mubariz Rizvi, Vice Chair. Rais Khan, Naved Bakai, Hissam Akdami is also our secretary. Is there any other board member I missed? Yes, we have about 16 board members, but because of working day and travel plans, we miss some of those. Very quickly, I would also like to recognize a few of the dignitaries here in the room. We have, Senator Katie Hester was supposed to join us. Thank you so much. See. And Delegate Jessica Kalmar. We also have Senator Guy Gazzoni's office, Representative Diana Peel. Also, we have from our local councils, representative from Montgomery County Muslim Council, we have Tufail Ahmed. We have also Shafiq Khan, who is the past president of the Montgomery County Muslim Council. So we have Irfan Malik, who was the past president of our Howard County Muslim Council. And obviously Adnan Khan, who is the host of the event also. And thank you so much for opening the Darut Taqwa Center. We appreciate your help and support. So with this, I would like to get into the programs. The first topic, Senator, we would like your opinion and ideas. And I know you are very much involved. You recently visited India, Pakistan, and Afghanistan also. Is the Kashmir issue, which is on everybody's mind here. So we have two speakers, those who would give some background of the issue, and we'll talk from there. So first of all, can I bring Brother Imtiaz Khan, Dr. Imtiaz Khan, to talk a little bit about the background of the issue?
Nice to see you.
Yeah, my name is Imtiaz Khan. I'm from Indian occupied Kashmir. And I am totally incommunicado with my relatives and my close relatives since last 3 months, which is August 5, and today is the 100th day of the curfew in occupied Jammu and Kashmir. There is no internet. Schools and colleges are closed. All the education institutions are closed. There is no access to hospitals or medicine. Some people who are sick, they cannot get these life-saving drugs. I had one example when my own cousin, she was suffering from recurrent malignant tumor of the breast. She couldn't get the treatment. She passed away due to the lack of the treatment. I had some relatives who were comparatively well off. They were diabetic, but they cannot get medicine. They had to fly to Delhi to get their insulin so that they can save their lives. India has unleashed a reign of terror on people of Kashmir. There were already 700,000 paramilitary and paramilitary forces in Kashmir. And before 5th of August, they added 150,000 forces to the additional forces in the region of Kashmir. So total, there is a population of 8 million people, Kashmiris, and they are having about, for every 10 person, there is a one army man who's loaded with weapons and ready to kill. They have performing nocturnal raids where they pick up young boys ranging from 15 to 20 years old. And there's a report, one of the boys who has been arrested is 7 years old. And they have lodged him in different prisons of Calcutta or in Agra, in Bareilly, and so on and so forth. And their parents don't know the whereabouts of these children. There was one case when one parent went up to Calcutta. He was told, no, he's in Andhra Pradesh. Then he went to Andhra Pradesh, and they told him it's Agra. And he had deployed all his resources, but he couldn't know about the welfare of his boy. And when they arrest, they subject him to the grievous torture. There was one case which came in New York Times, and where 3 kids were picked up. They were beaten to pulp. They were stripped of their clothes. They applied electric shocks to their genitals, and they started crying. To prevent them from crying, they put mud in their mouth so that they couldn't shriek. That is, Senator, that is Indian democracy. They are not allowing anybody. I know, Senator, you were kind enough to visit that place and you tried your best to go to Kashmir, but you were not allowed. Let me tell you, even their shadow Prime Minister Rahul Gandhi, they didn't allow. Their own men, they didn't allow. They have something to hide. This is the news, what is coming out of is tip of the iceberg. I don't know what is going on in the villages. This is the army who performed massive rape on the women in Kunukun and Poshpura. This is the army who is involved in mass graves, which was discovered by Professor Angana Chatterjee. She's one of the ladies who testified before the Congress a few weeks ago. With the help of local lawyer Parvez Imroz, they discovered that there were about 2,500 graves. There is that lady who is running from pillar to post, Parveen Ahankar. She's being nominated for the Nobel Prize for Peace. And she is fighting this case, but there is no answer. In my opinion, Senator, we have given India a long rope. Why India is indulging these humanitarian abuses is because international community is not putting the right pressure. They have been able to get away with it. But how long will the world watch? There is India and Pakistan are nuclear powers. And according to one of the reports by the NGO in Holland, it is said if there's a nuclear exchange between India and Pakistan, 2 billion people will be infected. We don't have luxury to wait. We don't have luxury to wait. We have to press upon India to come to the negotiating table, so discuss this Kashmir issue and resolve this amicably according to the Charter of the United Nations. Senator, again, thank you for it. I hope you'll continue to support the Kashmiri cause. You will basically try to convince your fellow senators so that you can get rid of this humanitarian crisis. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor.
I request Asmat Ashahi to talk about the same issue and give a little bit more perspective.
And the fact that there is no fact-finding mission allowed into Kashmir is very, very disturbing. We don't know what is going on. People living in the villages don't know what's going on in the cities. They project this image of Kashmir being very, very happy, the Kashmiris being happy about the application of Article 370. which joined us to India in the first place, and that was, like I explained before, like a memorandum of understanding, but it was a legal document. They say that this was a legal document, but Indian Constitution had the right to revoke that. But in fact, they may have had the right to revoke that, but not without the Kashmiri people. The Kashmiri people were put behind curfews, lockdown, and like Dr. Khan said, it has been over 3 months, there is no internet.
The human rights situation in Kashmir is unacceptable. And you've got a continuing situation where communications are still very, very difficult. At first, all communications were cut off, but now landlines have been restored, but very few people use landlines. Cell phone communications are still cut off in many instances. Internet communication is down. You have thousands of people who are being detained unjustly for political purposes. So these are political detainees. You have a continuing curfew. And so the human rights situation is unacceptable, and it's been going on for way too long, since August 5th, when India took these actions. Which is why when I went to India in early October, I did ask to go to Kashmir because of reports of what was happening. I met with Dr. Khan, I don't know where's Dr. Khan, and some others about 2 weeks before I went, maybe 10 days. And I made the request to go, and of course, as you know, the Indian government denied the request. The only explanation for that is because they didn't want me to see firsthand what was happening. My view is if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear from somebody visiting and observing and witnessing and telling people what's happening. As you mentioned, Rajiv Gandhi was also denied access. The only folks who have been given access so far from an international perspective have been a group of very xenophobic, right-wing European Parliament legislators who were going to essentially say what they were told to say by the current government of India. So we do need to speak out, and one of the things I did in the Appropriations Committee of the United States Senate was pass a resolution. We have, in the United States Senate Appropriations Committee, we passed a resolution condemning the human rights violations in Kashmir and demanding that the Indian government take action in terms of restoring communications, releasing prisoners, and ending the curfew. The House of Representatives has had a hearing. I'd like to have a hearing in the United States Senate as well. We're pushing for one. The difference is that the chairman of the Senate committees have not yet agreed to have a hearing, but we will keep pushing. I think the hearing in the House was important, and it's important to keep a focus on this issue so the world can't just try to turn the page or forget about what's happening in Kashmir. As you know, the UN Security Council did convene to look at this, really at the request of China. The United States needs to do more to push for the international community to look at this. If you go to Kashmir, UN observers are not allowed to monitor the situation. They're confined to certain parts of Kashmir. I also visited AJK on the Pakistani side, met with the Prime Minister there and the governor there. And on that side, the UN observers are free to observe what is happening. So we should insist that the UN observers in Kashmir, Jammu Kashmir, on the Indian side, be able to really monitor what's happening so that they can report to the world, because we know from their earlier human rights reports that there was, even before August 5th, you had a very serious human rights situation in Kashmir, which is one of the most militarized places in the world. So we have to keep pushing to keep attention on this issue. Obviously, there's a lot going on internationally, but we need to do our best to focus on the human rights situation. This is an issue of human rights, and we need to keep the focus on that. It is a part of a larger trend in India towards Hindu nationalism, and that is concerning with respect to minority rights. And especially in India, you have a very large Muslim population, and so we're talking about India's Muslim population. We're seeing a dangerous trend around the world with respect to rise in sort of ethno-nationalism, and we're seeing that playing out here as well. I mean, we have, we can talk about it later, we have issues here at home as well, but in the situation, of course, we don't have a human rights situation like they're experiencing in Kashmir here at home, and that is why we need to be focused on that, both through the legislation, hearings, and I would support any sort of observer force. The issue, the challenge, of course, is getting as I had trouble doing. But let's just keep focused on this and not let the world turn away from the human rights situation.
I'd like to start by thanking Senator Van Hollen for his stance opposing anti-BDS legislation this year. That was extremely important. And I'll talk a little bit about that. I actually just returned from a trip just a week ago to Palestine. I was in Gaza, Bethlehem, and Jerusalem to be exact. I saw firsthand the devastating impact of the ongoing siege on Gaza, as well as the Israeli occupation in the West Bank on the average Palestinian farmer, a fisherman, student, mother, father, and child. And BDS, as you know, is one of the most effective tools at the disposal of the average citizen, including here in the United States, and people of conscience to attempt to hold Israel accountable for the actions that when our government has failed to do so. And freedom to boycott, as you know, Senator Van Hollen, is a constitutional right that should always be protected. Instead, those who engage in BDS have been criminalized and punished by state and federal legislation, and as many of you know, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib was actually prevented from visiting her dying grandmother by the state of Israel, unless she would sign something for swearing that she would engage in BDS. So briefly, what I witnessed in Gaza was at once both uplifting and devastating. I met young students who now constitute 3/4 of the population, who have never left Gaza in their entire lives, who were so starved for simply a conversation with the outside world that they traveled more than an hour just to see me, 16-year-old, 17-year-old students. I met recent graduates building their own 3D printers from recycled materials, including making their own filament and producing local tourniquets to stop bleeding from the injured at weekly return marches by the border. This is because so few things are actually allowed into Gaza. And specifically, there is a ban on the entry of what are known as dual-use items that would enable them to rebuild and build factories and build machines and things like this. I met a young woman who created her own company that makes solar panels to power Gaza due to 8-hour rotating power outages. She makes her own bricks from recycled materials of the rubble of destroyed buildings. I met fishermen whose nets were cut by the Israeli Navy for fishing beyond 6 nautical miles that have been imposed by the Israeli Navy on them. I met farmers whose entire orchards were destroyed to make way for a border buffer zone. And I ate at the homes of more than 80% of the population now under a US-driven, man-made poverty line, deprived of the ability to purchase basic.
It's really important that we push for that, not just in words, but we need to also be willing to take actions to prevent changes on the ground which already threaten a two-state solution from making that permanently not possible. And so that does mean making sure that we do not allow expansions of settlements to new areas, and that we certainly need to fight any talk of unilateral annexation by Israel, which the current Prime Minister has been talking about, at least in the past election. So that's the overall framework, as I think should be our goal. Now, you've had this administration, the Trump administration, which has really taken us backwards in many ways. You had Jared Kushner, with no experience in the region, being designated by President Trump to essentially try to achieve peace in the Middle East. It was never realistic, his approach, because his approach was essentially trying to strangle the Palestinians by cutting off all sorts of humanitarian and other assistance, thinking that if you just, deprive people of humanitarian assistance, that you're somehow going to force them to give up their political rights. We wouldn't give up our political rights under those circumstances, and it was wrong to ever think the Palestinians would or should give up their political rights under those conditions, or any conditions. So My view has been, number one, getting to the assistance issue. We need to restore U.S. humanitarian assistance to the West Bank and Gaza, including hospitals and schools. We need to restore our funding to UNRWA, which, as you indicated, helps, provide schooling for children, thousands and thousands of children in Gaza, in the West Bank, and other parts of the Middle East. And in fact, in the Senate Appropriations Committee about 2 months ago, when we had what we call our markup, I made the point that we as the Senate and the House have got to move in that direction. Now, there's the bad news and the good news. The bad news is in the Senate is we weren't sure we had the votes.
And also campaign director of the broader No Business with Genocide campaign. And I'm here with Mike DeLong.
I'm the leader of the Maryland chapter of the International Campaign for Rohingya and have been involved in local politics for a while.
जी नाज़रीन, आपने झलकियाँ देखी। तो इस तरह के प्रोग्राम अक्सर जो हैं यहाँ पर मुख्तलिफ़ किस्म के जो NGOs होती हैं या इदारे होते हैं वो करते रहते हैं, और ये बहुत अच्छी बात है कि हम किसी न किसी तरीके से अमेरिकन गवर्नमेंट, अमेरिकन पॉलिटिशियन से कनेक्ट में रहते हैं। नाज़रीन, प्रोग्राम का वो ख़त्म हुआ। अगले हफ्ते तक के लिए आसिम सदीकी को इजाज़त दीजिए। खुदा हाफिज़।
अब आपका होगा अपना घर, सपना घर।
Your dreams can come true. SAI Mortgage is key for you.
अपना घर खरीदने और रीफाइनेंस करवाने के लिए SAI Mortgage से राब्ता करें।
Don't make a move without SAI.